So it's Saturday, March 1st, 2020. My friends Jeff and Keith have all reported receiving purple martins yesterday. So I need to get busy. I have only 2 gourds out at this time and I need to get some more out. It's supposed to rain this afternoon, so I'm trying quickly to fill up a few gourds. This is eastern white pine needles that I use to pre-nest my gourds. Gourds need to be pre-nested because they're so large it would take a purple martin a long time to fill it up where they want it. So it's recommended by the PMCA that eastern white pine needles are the best material to use to pre-nest the gourds. I found a place here in Licking where there are many eastern white pine trees where I go and rake up the pine needles when I find a few days of good dry hot sunny weather, because you want your pine needles to be dry when you put them in your gourds. When I rake them up, I really don't bother at the time to get everything out of them. I just rake them up, bag them, and bring them home. And then when I start filling the gourds, I start breaking out all the pine cones and the sticks and all the stuff that you don't want in your gourds. These leaves, dry leaves, but these are quite okay. Make sure you get all the pine cones and sticks out of it. But everything else is pretty well what purple martins would use anyway in their nests. The way you identify an eastern white pine tree is, number one, by the way they look, obviously, but if you don't know the difference between a shortleaf pine and an eastern white pine, you can grab the needles and crunch them in your hands and they don't bite or poke into your hands or sharp needles. These are very soft, neat pine needles. And the second way to identify an eastern white pine is by the look of their pine cone. The pine cones on an eastern white pine tree are much longer and skinnier than a pine cone on a shortleaf pine. So I have 84 gourds, so I rake up usually about 5 or 6 33-gallon bags full of pine needles, and that will last me throughout the season. I sort out everything into this laundry basket, cheap laundry basket I got at the dollar store. And then once I get a good basket sorted out, I'll start filling the gourds. So I have 2 types of gourds that I use here on Gobbler's Knob. One is the Troyer vertical gourd. It has the starling resistant Conley 2 entrance. Not 100% resistant, but because some of the skinnier starlings coming out of winter can breach it. You just have to eliminate those really small starlings, but for the most part they can't enter. As you can see, though, the Troyer vertical gourd has a really deep interior, and on some of these gourds it has a smooth bottom, so it's important to get this filled up somewhat so the purple martins don't have to spend all summer trying to fill up this big gourd. There are also drain holes in the bottom of these gourds. I tend to try to drill mine out just a little bit more and make them a little bit bigger so that they drain well. Water is carried in by the birds. Some may come in through those holes, mounting holes in the top, but anyway, the idea here is to fill the gourd up to about the bottom of the lip, maybe a little bit more when you initially put the pine needles in. The other type of gourd I use a lot is the Troyer horizontal gourd. Has a long neck, same type of entrance, and it does have a traction tape that comes down into the bottom. However, you can see the bottom is still pretty smooth. It needs nesting material also. It has vents in the back as well as drain holes in the bottom. I really like these gourds because they're very durable, and I've had some of them as many as 13 years, and you can see they're still in pretty good shape. So, to fill these gourds, I usually grab about 2 or 3 handfuls of eastern white pine needles that I showed in my earlier video. And I stuff it down in there and kind of pack it a little bit. And the birds will pack it down even more. So you want to get a good bit in there. And you can see, you know, how much you've got in there. Maybe just a little bit more. And I felt something rough, so I'll throw that out. Try to get all the sticks and pine cones and anything that feels rough out of there. And then for the vertical gourd, I'll do the same thing. I don't have to cut these pine needles or anything like that because the eastern white pine trees here in Missouri, well, this variety anyway, has shorter white pine needles, and they just stuff right down in there. Put a little more in there. These vertical gourds tend to have a bigger bottom, so they take a little bit more. So I would say on average 3 or 4. You don't want to block the entrance, just pack it down a little bit. And there you go. That's all you have to do to pre-nest your gourds. Pre-nesting the gourds serves two purposes. Like I said, the purple martins don't have to spend all summer trying to build a big nest in there. And secondly, when it helps with new purple martins to your site, coming for new landlords, if they see that there was probably a successful nest there last year with that nest in there already, so it kind of helps a little bit with attraction as well.